Hi, welcome to Sample Saturday. My name is Liz FitzGerald and I am the Endorsed SWR trainer from Northern California. And today I am going to demonstrate dictation for some sample words that our SWR users asked to see dictated. So what I'm going to do is go through the process of demonstrating the dictation for some of our spelling words. Now, in order to do this, I need some tools. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using in order to do my dictation. Of course, my spelling words are coming from the Wise Guide, and I will tell you on what page and in which spelling section each of the words are located. So I have my Wise Guide. I also have my alpha list. Each of these words, the people who requested the dictation, I had to look them up in my alpha list. So the words in the Wise Guide are arranged from easiest to spell at the beginning of the spelling list to more difficult to spell. They are also arranged from the most frequently used words in our language to less frequently used. That means that it's hard to find a word. How do I know where the word about is in the spelling list? That's where my alpha list comes in handy. Each of these words that were requested, I went to my alpha list and it told me exactly where to find the spelling words. Now, another thing that I'm going to be doing as I dictate is I'm going to be demonstrating what we call think to spell. And think to spell is an approach that we use to help the student lock onto the sound symbol or the sound picture for thinking through how to spell the word. When spelling, what's important is that we start with spelling first, not pronunciation. When we try to go from how do we say the word to how is it spelled, that's where we run into problems. Instead, when I teach spelling, I want to start with how is it spelled, and my pronunciation is going to imitate that. And then I say the word however I say the word, which of course is going to be different depending on whether I'm a native English speller, where I am located. I happen to be in California, but I was raised in the Midwest, so I'll have some Midwest undertones to my pronunciations. It depends on where you're raised. Is English a second language to you? If so, where did you learn it? And how is that influencing your pronunciation? So all of these factors, lots of different factors play into how we say our spelling words. How do we say the words in English? That is not going to help us when it comes to spelling. So again, I want to think the way it's spelled first and then go to pronunciation from there. I'm not saying I have to say the words this way. That's just the way I'm going to think them for spelling. How do I lock in the spelling in the most effective way? That is the purpose of our Think to Spell. And to find information about Think to Spell, you need to get into your Spell to Write and Read book. So you need to get into the Think to Spell part of the SWR book. It starts about a third of the way down the page on page 78, starting right around here. And then there's a chart on page 79. And this chart lists the 12 most common reasons that we would have to do Think to Spell. And that chart is on page 79 in your book. We have a great handy bookmark that you can purchase that goes with Spell to Write and Read, and it lists the 12 different reasons for Think to Spell. That's a nice handy bookmark that you can tuck right into your Wise Guide. That's where I would recommend that you have it, because of course you've got those listed for you there in your Spell to Write and Read. So as I'm doing the dictation, I'm going to refer to that chart that's on page 79, and I'll actually tell you where you can find the instructions for those Think to Spell words in the SWR book. That's a part of the book you really want to study and get your head wrapped around those ideas. That's going to help a lot. So today, as I demonstrate our first several words, I'm going to be demonstrating the fingergrams, show you how the dictation process would go, and then I'll be coaching you through the Think to Spell that's necessary for teaching those words. When I'm getting ready to dictate a word, first of all, I need to practice ahead of time. I cannot emphasize enough how important that is for you. Practice your dictation before you're in front of your student. That way you can work out all of the little nuances of how you're going to teach the word. All right, so practice ahead of time. Now, as I'm getting ready, I'm going to start with the word was. That was the first word that was asked to be demonstrated. So I'm finding the word was in my WISE guide. It is on pages 10 and 11. That is list D. Okay. On this side of the WISE guide, all of my spelling words are listed the way that I would find them in the dictionary. And if I have a word that has more than one syllable, it's broken into syllables the way that the dictionary would list them. So that's on this side. However, this is the side that gives me all the teaching information that I need. So I need to look at how the word is marked, and that's going to give me some clues as to how I would think for spelling. So I'm looking at word number 77. I'm looking at page 11 in my WISE guide. The word is was. When I say this word, I tend to say, this is normal speech, the vowel sounds like and I don't really exaggerate that last sound. It's kind of lost. Was. It's almost not even heard. If you were to record yourself, you don't even hear it. So I need to exaggerate it so that my student knows what to write. But let's take a look at the markings and what do those tell me. I notice that there's a 3 over the a. That tells me that for thinking to spell, I'm going to think this as the ah sound. Ah. There's a 2 over the z. So I'm going to think it as z. And my student needs to hear me say that. I need to actually say it clearly, distinctly, so that my student knows what to write. If we don't listen to how we're saying it, we don't realize that we're not giving the students sufficient tools to be able to spell it correctly. And then when they write it, the way it came out of our mouths, and it's wrong, we say, "What's wrong with you?" When in fact, it was not us saying it correctly. So I'm going to think z. It's right there. It told me how to think to spell. So that's how I'm going to teach this word. All right, here we go. Pencils down, eyes on me. The word is was. I was at the market yesterday. Was. We're going to think to spell was. You say it.
Was.
Good. I like the way you said z there. That was great. Say it one more time.
Was.
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 So I'm doing some ear training with my student, making sure that the student is picking up the nuances of how I said that word. How many syllables? Say it again and count how many syllables.
Was. 1.
Great. Sound it out for me.
Was. Was.
Great. Use a, z. Now, let me explain what I'm doing there. I am clarifying for my student. If a phonogram is not saying its first sound, that means that's not what the student is expecting for that sound. When the student hears ah, the phonogram that says that most often would be ah, oh, ooh. So that's what the student should automatically think when they hear the ah sound. But here I've got a phonogram saying its third sound. So I need to clarify. Whenever there's a number over a phonogram, you bet I need to clarify. So that's what I'm doing for the student. So the word is was. Again, I'm going to go back and clarify. Use a, and use z. Say it while you write it.
Z.
Great job. All right, teach the word back to me. What's the word?
Was.
Sound it out.
Z. Was.
Does yours look like mine?
Yes.
All right, start at the beginning of the word and tell me how to mark it.
You put a 3 over the ah because it said its third sound.
Great.
And you put a 2 over the z because it said its second sound.
Great. Notice he's using the sound that the phonogram said, not a, because that's 3 sounds. What did it say in this word? He's using that to identify where to put the 3. And he said z because that's the sound it said here. All right. And let's sound it out one more time.
Z.
What's the word?
Was.
And go back into your regular speech at that point. Let's do it again.
Z. Was.
Great. All right. Virginia asked about some words that end with a double consonant. She wanted to know how to dictate those. So I'm actually going to start with the very first word in the Wise Guide that introduces this concept. I'm going to start with the word all. It's actually in list A, which is on pages 2 and 3 in the Wise Guide. And so again, looking at my Wise Guide on page 3, I see that there's a 3 over the a. That tells me that when I teach this word, I'm going to think ah. That makes sense. Ow. Oh, that's a little different. I say ah, but I need to teach it ah, ow. Okay, that's okay. But notice there's 2 L's. So how do I do that with a double consonant at the end? That's what I'm going to demonstrate. All right, pencils down, eyes on me. The word is all. All of us are here today. All. How many syllables in this word?
All. 1.
Sound it out for me.
Ah. All.
That's right. That's what we hear. But now what I want you to know is I'm going to add another ol. All. So we're going to think ah, ol, ol. You say it.
Ah. All. All.
Use ah. I need to clarify that because it's not what the student is expecting when he hears the ah sound. So, one more time.
Ah. All. All.
Say it while you write it.
Ah. All. All.
Great. Teach it back to me. What's the word?
All. Ah. All. All. All.
Does yours look like mine?
Yes.
Great. Start at the beginning of the word and tell me how to mark it. What do I do here?
Put a 3 over the ah because
Why do I
it
do that?
said its third sound.
Great job. And then what did each of these say?
All.
Great. So they said their first sound, so there's no marking, right? Would you like to know why I had to add another ol? I did that because there's a rule I'm following. Here's the rule. We often double F, L, and S after a single vowel at the end of a base word. So that's what I was doing. I was doubling the L at the end of the base word. Let's say that word rule together.
We often double F, L, and S
after a single vowel at the end of a base word. Great job. All right, the next time that rule comes up, I am in list B. I'm on pages 4 and 5 in my Wise Guide. And I know that this rule is coming up because I can see over here on this side in my Wise Guide, it says Rule 17. And that's that F, L, and S rule. And the next time it comes up is with the word odd. So I'm going to teach that now. Now, again, I'm preparing ahead of time and I look at this. There's no marking, so everything is going to say its first sound. But this is not an F, L, and an S. We're doubling a D here. There's a note for you here in the teacher guide. It says occasionally we double D after a single vowel at the end of a base word. Well, I thought the rule was about F, L, and S. So I can flip back to the back of the book where the rules are explained, Rule 17. It says occasionally other letters are doubled in this way. So that's the rest of the rule. So I'm going to make sure that my student knows that. This is the second time this rule is coming up. I don't expect him to even remember that I taught this rule in a previous list. So I'm going to review it again. In fact, I'm going to review these rules every time they come up. And now I get to teach more of that rule. All right, here we go. Pencils down, eyes on me. The word is odd. Yesterday, I saw an odd duck. Odd. How many syllables?
Odd. 1.
Let's sound it out.
Odd.
Add another d.
D. Odd.
Great. Now, make sure that you're using ah, o, oo. Whenever you hear ah, your brain should think ah, o, oo, unless I tell you otherwise. Let's sound it out one more time.
Odd. Odd.
Say it while you write it.
Odd.
Great. Teach it back to me. What's the word?
Odd. Odd.
Notice I'm waiting for my student to tell me what to write. He is driving the dictation. Does yours look like mine?
Yes.
And how do I mark it?
You don't mark it because everything says its first sound.
Everything said its first sound. Very good. Now, we have 2 of these. Let's review the rule. I taught you this rule before. The rule is we often double F, L, and S. Say it with me. We often double F, L, and S after a single vowel at the end of a base word. But this isn't F, L, and S. It's not this. It's not that. And it's not that. We're doubling something else. There's more to this rule. Occasionally, we will double other letters in this way. And here's an example of when we do that. So let's sound it out one more time the way we think for spelling.
Odd.
And we say
Odd.
Excellent. All right, the very next word is also following Rule 17. So word number 38 in list B is the word hill. So I'm going to reinforce that same rule with the very next word. Okay, so here we go. Pencils down, eyes on me. The word is hill. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Hill. How many syllables?
Hill. 1.
Sound it out for me.
O.
Notice that's all the student hears. So now it's my job as the teacher to tell him to add another one. Add another ol. Let's sound it out one more time.
O. Hill.
Great. Say it while you write it.
O.
Great. Teach it back to me. What's the word?
Hill.
Sound it out.
O.
I'm waiting for the student to tell me what to write. Does yours look like mine?
Yes.
Great. How do I mark it? Start at the beginning of the word.
You don't mark anything because everything says its first sound.
Everything said its first sound. Great job. Now, we have 2 of these at the end again. Do you remember what our rule was? Let's say it together. We often double F, L, or S after a single vowel at the end of a base word. Great. And here we are. That's that rule. That tells us why we had to have 2 at the end of the word. Great job. All right. The next word is floor. Floor comes up in list F. And so I am looking at my Wise Guide pages 14 and 15. Floor. And again, in my advanced preparations, I'm going to look at how it's marked because that is going to tell me how I need to teach it for my student. So when I say the word floor, I hear f, or. Let's see, is it marked that way? Well, no, I don't see or underlined. That's a phonogram. I see O, the O. I see that phonogram underlined with a 3, meaning it's saying O, and then the as separate. So I'm not going to teach it as or, I'm going to teach it as O, and not O, Make sure you're not saying the letter R as because that's a vowel plus a consonant, and that would require that it be a completely different syllable. So I need to be very careful in my spelling dictation that I say it as So I'm going to think f, o, f, o, flower, flower. I'm going to say it like that when I teach it. All right, here we go. You notice how I have to think through how I'm going to teach the word. Pencils down, eyes on me. The word is floor. I dropped an egg on my kitchen floor. I'm going to think to spell flower. You say it.
Flower. Flower.
Okay, I want to make sure that you're saying O, You say that.
Flower.
Excellent. All right, sound it out for me. How many syllables?
Floor. 1.
Sound it out.
F, o, r.
Now, the student knows several 2-letter phonograms that can say O, so I need to clarify. Please use oo, o. Oo, o. Let's sound it out one more time.
F, o, r. Floor.
Say it while you write it.
F, L O R.
Excellent. Teach it back to me. What's the word?
Floor.
Sound it out.
L O R. Floor.
Does yours look like mine?
Yes.
How do I mark it?
Underline the O
Why?
because it's a multi-letter phonogram.
Anything else?
You put a 3 over it
Why do I put a 3?
because it said its third sound.
Very oh. Very good. And the word one more time?
Floor.
All right. My next word is about. About is in list H1. I am on pages 20 and 21 in the Weiss Guide. The word is about. Now, before I teach it to my student, I need to practice. So let me go look at this word and how it's marked in the Weiss Guide. On page 20, it shows how it would be divided in syllables. This is a 2-syllable word, so it's divided in syllables based on how I would see it in the dictionary. And if you have a Weiss Guide that was printed after 2015 or later, you're going to see the syllable bout is bold. I'm on page 20 and it's in bold. And that tells me that the accent in this word is on the syllable bout. That is a very important feature when I'm teaching this word, because what happens is the syllable that's not accented, which in this case is the first syllable, it gets muffled. The vowel sound is not as clear. So it's, if you were to think of this as stress, so each syllable in speech has different stress depending on where it is in the word and how we're pronouncing that word. So when we say the word about, is down here in the muffled, unaccented realm. Bout is stressed. About. We say it like that. So when I teach this for spelling, I need to, how do I spell If I looked in a dictionary, that would be marked, a current dictionary would mark that as a schwa. A schwa is that upside down E. And every single vowel can be represented by a schwa, and that does not help me for spelling. So I need to think it the way it's spelled. It's spelled with the letter A. What does an A usually do at the end of a syllable? It usually says A. And when I look at my Weiss Guide on page 21, I see that the A is underlined. That tells me I need to think A for spelling. So instead of thinking to spell which doesn't help me for spelling, I'm going to think it as an A. A bout. I don't say a bout. Tell me a bout your day. I don't say it that way, but that's the way I need to think it for spelling, to lock in the spelling. I'm creating a sound picture for the student. A bout. So instead of about, I'm going to bring this up to equal stress. I think every syllable as though it had the same amount of stress. A bout. So how do I know to exaggerate that A? How would I know that? Well, that's actually the first type of think to spell. I'm looking at my spell to write and read on page 79, and the very first example of when you have to think to spell is when we have, number 1, exaggerate an unstressed vowel. I already talked about that. The is unstressed in an open syllable. What's an open syllable? Basically a syllable that ends with a vowel. So if I have a syllable that's ending with a vowel and it's not receiving the stress, it's going to be more difficult to remember how to spell that vowel. So that's the first type of think to spell, and that is explained for you there at the bottom of page 79 in your spell to write and read. All right, here we go. Pencils down, eyes on me. The word is about. Tell me about your day. About. We're going to think to spell a bout. Say the word back to me.
About.
Listen carefully. A bout. You say it like that.
A bout.
Right. I'm doing ear training, making sure that the student is picking up on the nuances of that think to spell. A bout. How many syllables in a bout?
A bout. 2.
Great. Notice how many times in this dictation we say that think to spell. That helps lock in that sound pattern. How many syllables?
A bout. 2.
Great. First syllable?
A bout. A b bout. B Out.
Use ow, o, oo,
A, bout.
Say it as you write it.
A, b, ow, t.
Great. Teach the word back to me. The word is
About. A, bout.
first syllable,
A,
second syllable,
bout. B, ow, t. A, bout.
first syllable. How do I mark it?
Underline A because A said A at the end of a syllable.
Does A usually say A at the end of a syllable?
Yes, it does.
Great. Let's say the rule together.
A, E, O, U usually say A, E, O, U at the end of a syllable.
Great. Notice I want the student to own that rule. So as soon as he's able to say it by himself, I back off. Next syllable. How do I mark it?
Underline ow
Great. Why did I do that?
because that's a multi-letter phonogram.
And what sound is it saying?
It is saying its first sound, so you don't have to put any numbers above it.
That's correct. Very good. A bout.